This is rough. KSI vs Dillon Danis has just been postponed, with KSI withdrawing from the March 29th fight due to illness, with this being the second time in a row he's pulled out ahead of his boxing return. So this is the harsh reality of KSI's next fight.
So KSI's long-awaited boxing return keeps getting pushed back. He was supposed to fight last year. He wanted to do a 2v1 kind of gimmick match against Anthony Taylor and Slim. Then he had a hand injury, and he's been having injuries over the last couple of years. Since his fight against Tommy Fury over a year and a half ago, he was looking to return this March against many different opponents, being scheduled originally to fight Wayne Bridge, saying he made offers to the likes of Cowboy Cerrone, Tony Ferguson, Jorge Masvidal, Nate Diaz, and more. Then he ends up being scheduled to fight Dillon Danis for an unfinished business fight, because they were originally scheduled to fight over 2 years ago in 2023. So there was already a lot of backlash for KSI's next fight, booking a Dillon Danis fight once again when he criticizes the likes of Jake Paul for fighting old retired MMA guys, and then he sends out offers to the oldest, most retired MMA guys like Tony Ferguson. So it was kind of hypocritical, and he says he's beyond the level of Jake Paul, even though he doesn't say, oh, I want to chase world titles, oh, I want to become the best in the world like Jake Paul does. He says boxing's just a part-time thing for him, but I feel like that's also why he's pulling out of these fights and why he's getting injured, why he's getting ill, because he's focusing on so many different avenues that he can't just purely focus on boxing, and then that might just leave his camp to kind of being rushed, and him trying to cram a training camp after doing charity soccer matches and YouTube videos and sidemen shoots and all these kind of things. He's kind of cramming this training camp in, rushing it, and then getting sick and not recovering, not taking a rest because, oh, the fight's in 2 weeks. So just a mess of a situation, and I don't see this KSI versus Dillon Danis fight even being rebooked.
Yeah, it's honestly at this point hard to say if we're even going to end up seeing this fight, as Dillon Danis is scheduled to fight Tony Ferguson in an MMA promotion, the GFL, coming up in the middle of May. So how are they really going to plan this fight to even be rescheduled? I don't think it's going to happen. You got a Misfits card coming up as well. I don't even know if they're going to have this Dillon Danis matchup happen now, and are probably going to have to find someone else for KSI to fight too. It's going to be another problem as well. KSI was also being criticized when he got Wayne Bridge, a retired soccer player with no combat sports experience, to come out, and he was going to fight him until the backlash was so bad that they had to cancel that matchup, and then instead put Dillon Danis, which is still not even the greatest matchup as well. And like you said, calling out those older MMA fighters when he called out Jake for doing the same. So it's really a question of who he's going to be able to fight. Maybe he'll go the route of fighting some guys who are doing well on Misfits, and something that his community would appreciate more and think is a better win than fighting against Dillon Danis, who displayed nothing against Logan Paul and was just there for the paycheck pretty much, and even disqualified himself throughout that whole fight, acting like a fool. So I'm sure you can find better options than a Dillon Danis. The only upside of Dillon Danis was really just the entertainment factor he brought into the lead up into the media days and on social media. Is going to be hard to replace that and to get some buzz happening for the fight. But at the end of the day, it is KSI. It won't be that hard to get some attention. But it's honestly a shame to see how things have swayed from KSI's favor. You have him being the ultimate underdog, having the biggest supporting fan base in the whole scene and in general, coming off of those Logan Paul fights. And ever since, it's just seemed like the audience has not been able to resonate with him. Partially that's due to some things he's done, partially from things as well out of his control. But in general, regardless of how bad the injuries, the sicknesses have been, it's just not the greatest look to pull out 2 fights in a row and then also go online and bash other people. KSI has been very well known from bashing potential opponents for pulling out of fights, such as Alex Wasabi when he pulled out of their fight. He's made whole videos on guys laughing at them and making fun of them. And then when he does it and then gets upset when people are criticizing him for it, is not the greatest look and just shows a little bit of hypocrisy, to be honest.
The only redeeming quality I feel like for KSI's return is the fact that he's kind of met up with Turki Alalshikh. It seems like he has plans for KSI to have some fights in America, and if you're getting Turki involved, that's gotta mean at least some legit opponents, because Turki doesn't really do the gimmick fights, at least to his own words. He has done stuff like Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury and AJ and stuff like that, but he's criticized guys like Jake Paul for trying to fight Canelo and fighting Mike Tyson, obviously, and says he doesn't want to deal with people who are not real fighters, and if he is going to make him fight some legit opposition, there are rumors about him trying to make KSI versus Conor McGregor, which is just never going to happen, and it's very unlikely. Obviously, Conor McGregor signed with the UFC, and sure, Turki's doing a promotion with Dana and the TKO banner, but it's just not going to be Conor McGregor. Conor is out of his mind right now, and he's running for president of Ireland. He's nowhere near fit to be in a fight right now or anything like that, even though he would probably beat KSI. But KSI talks about how everyone's scared when they pull out against him. He said Tony Ferguson was terrified of losing to him, and that's his logic when anyone pulls out. Alex Wasabi, Dillon Danis, and now when he postpones the event, because obviously he is the sole reason this card was going ahead and this card was gonna profit and do numbers. It was because KSI was on the bill. If you replace KSI with anyone else against Dillon Danis, no one's really gonna care unless it's like Jake Paul or Logan Paul, which is very unrealistic and won't happen. So he can't just pull out without the entire event kind of just being a mess and the whole event kind of going to shambles. So that's why it was postponed. In reality, it's just another way of saying he pulled out. He wasn't ready for the date of March 29th. Maybe it will be getting rescheduled, but I honestly don't see that specific fight getting rescheduled between him and Dillon Danis. Dillon's even been saying, you ended it, you ended the event, it's over. KSI, you pulled out. So it's just been a string of some bad events for KSI when it comes to boxing in the last couple of years. Since his fight against Tommy Fury, he's had some bad matchmaking, been pretty hypocritical, and is even now lashing out at the likes of Wade for saying that he should give Dillon Danis some credit for at least showing up. And he kind of went off saying you just meat ride Jake Paul when Wade didn't say anything about Jake Paul, and made a video that day on why Jake Paul is delusional for wanting to fight Anthony Joshua. So I don't know, it just seems like KSI, obviously he's ill and he's not in the right headspace right now. He just had to pull out of the fight. He's not fully there, but regardless, it seems like KSI's next fight is probably going to be maybe an even lesser opponent than Dillon Danis. Someone that's in this range of who he's been calling out, the Wayne Bridges, the Dillon Danises, the Tony Fergusons, Donald Cerrone's. It just is not looking good when he does make his return. I'm hoping it's an interesting opponent, but odds are it's probably going to be an easy another tune-up fight because he has been out of the ring for a while.
Yeah, and we've known for a long time that KSI has always been into these different areas, and he's never really been focused primarily in boxing other than maybe the second Logan Paul fight, but that's because he had a main goal, a main objective. And when he came back to the ring initially when Misfits started, his goal, he stated multiple times, was to get that Jake Paul fight. That was the reason he came back. He said this himself. It's the reason he wants to fight. That's really his only goal left to do in boxing. It's not like he has aspirations of trying to become a world champion like something Jake Paul has said. He stated clearly he wants that Jake Paul fight, or there's nothing really else for him here. But it seems like now he's kind of decided to make a pathway, and I get it's also to build Misfits as well and to make the brand bigger before he stops boxing. But now his interests are so split in between YouTube, music, and boxing, and we're especially seeing that be unsustainable maybe for him, with him having to pull out of fights consistently now and still fighting lesser opponents due to him needing some tune-ups and to get back into the ring and get the rust off of coming off the Tommy Fury loss. And it seems like some of those fights, even like the Tommy Fury fight, was kind of just unnecessary and maybe just out of spite of Jake Paul to prove that if Jake Paul can lose to Tommy Fury, then I can beat him and that he's better than him that way. But if there really is no way for this Jake Paul versus KSI fight to happen in the near future, then I don't know if there is a huge point of KSI boxing, or at least having multiple boxing fights coming up. Maybe it is just in his interest to focus on his other areas like music and YouTube. When he did lose that Tommy Fury fight, he did take a long hiatus, and it seemed like he wasn't going to come back to box, and he really wasn't into it for a while, because at the end of the day, this is not his main calling. He has many other things in which he's very successful, and also with Prime and other ventures as well. So it's not like the boxing is needed, and if we don't see this Jake Paul fight happening, which seems more unlikely every single day, somehow it gets more unlikely, then maybe his best bet is to have one more fight, maybe for the fans, I get, to build Misfits, and maybe just focus in his other areas then.
And it's not like KSI, since the Tommy Fury fight, has had a smooth sailing kind of career. He's been getting a lot of backlash with the likes of his new ventures, and a lot of people now are very much so hating KSI. So he used to be like a fan favorite kind of in the YouTube boxing sphere. He was the one who was going to beat Jake Paul, but over the last couple of years, people have definitely started to turn on him, which also can be used to his advantage if he wants to be a heel and play this character like he has in boxing, like when he fought Tommy Fury and he was saying all kinds of weird things in the lead up to that fight. So it's just whether KSI wants to prioritize the sport, because like you said, he's focused on so many different ventures. He had like 2 charity soccer matches within the same month of that he was gonna fight 2 weeks before, and then suddenly he gets completely ill. And there was even a clip of him in the gym getting work in while he was saying he's sick, he's ill, he's not feeling well. So he's pushing his body because he knows, oh, I have to play catch up because I'm not dedicated 100% to boxing right now. I have to rush this camp. I have to completely cram it in even when I'm sick, and that's going to break your body down. That's going to make it even worse for him, and he's not getting any younger. He's 31 years old, going on 32. At this point, the Jake Paul fight is never going to happen until KSI is maybe 40 years old, so I don't feel like it's even going to make sense down the line. So it's been tough to see the road of KSI's boxing return, but it just seems like his next fight is just not looking good. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below on KSI's boxing return. Who do you guys want to see him fight? Will this Dillon Danis fight be rebooked? But if you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and check out the video on screen on the harsh reality of Jake Paul's next fight.